Mike and JD. I'm JD.
And I'm Mike.
And welcome to Season 2. That's right, we didn't get canceled. Because turns out you can't get kicked off the internet. And trust us, we tried. So what's different about Season 2? Well, you probably saw our cool new logo. That's courtesy of Daniel Cortes. I will include a link to his Twitter profile. He did this whole series of Smash Brothers characters in Cuphead style. It is amazing.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, just so cool. And I commissioned that. Very happy for it. It cost a whole year's budget though. But oh well. What else is different? I have a microphone.
So what you're saying is this season has over 200% more budget than the last season.
Definitely. Because look at my microphone. Hopefully it's working right now. I don't even know how good quality I'm getting out of this, but hey, there's only one way to find out. And my beard is a little bit different. I think that about sums up the changes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Alright, so now I know all two of you have been dying to know what are we gonna start Season 2 with? What is our big new topic? And it is, for our first episode, Black Widow. Ooh, ah. So, Black Widow, after, feels like almost a decade, probably about a decade of rumors about a Black Widow movie, we finally got one. And it was, in my opinion, so meh.
It's certainly been a long time coming, for sure. I mean, I feel like doubly so. I feel very bad for this movie in terms of not just. I mean, it already had the baggage of being a Black Widow movie, like a decade after Black Widow should have gotten a movie. So it already had that riding on it. But it also, there was a pandemic, and there were no Marvel movies for a year for the first time since 2009. And so we were, hungry for, when is Marvel coming back? We had some TV shows and stuff, but, we were waiting to see Marvel again on the big screen. I guess some of you saw it on Disney+, but we were waiting to see it again on the big screen, and so it had a lot of pressure on this movie, so I definitely don't envy the job of the movie, for sure.
Well, they really just backed themselves in a hole with this one, because one, if the same exact movie came out, but instead it came out when it took place in the timeline, aka before the character died. Spoiler alert spoiler alert from the biggest movie ever, so that's on you if you haven't seen it. But anyway, so if it came out before the character died, this same exact movie would have been better already, significantly better already, because it had more tension. That you still know they won't kill her, but still it's not because here's a big problem. The writers could not give the character any character growth, because we know how she was before the movie. We know how she was after the movie. They had no room to work with.
Yeah, it has the interlequal dilemma of, they sort of bring up, Black Widow has unfinished business just so that they can finish the unfinished business. But, it's kind of the definition of a movie that wasn't, needed. I mean, no movie is needed. But, like you said, we kind of knew where Black Widow started and where she ended up. So she couldn't change too much, the biggest revelation really is where did she get her vest?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely that piece of the character that piece of character development was kind of taken out of the equation. And also, while the post-credit scene, which we'll talk about later, did kind of tie into, I think, what's coming for the future stuff in Marvel, it didn't really have a lot in terms of, like, payoffs to, being tied into the larger Infinity Saga, If this was supposed to kick... It was sort of awkwardly, like, in between, like, it wasn't part of the Infinity Saga, but it also was only kind of kicking off the new, like, saga.
Yeah. And, like, I don't... Like, when... I thought, when I heard, Black Widow movie, Black Widow can't die in Endgame. When she did, I'm like, okay, so it's going to be prequel. I thought they would do, we're going to see her origin, because we haven't seen her origin yet. Like, and that would have been far more interesting, because there's actually a ton of them. Because, she goes from this cold-blooded assassin, to... I mean, she wasn't quite heroic by Iron Man 2, but she was much more heroic than she was, back in her assassin days. Like, so I'm like, why didn't they just go, like, if you had to go backwards, why not just go all the way back? You could have done so much more of the character if we got her origins.
So what I really wanted this movie to do is something that Shang-Chi does, and this episode is not about Shang-Chi, but I really thought this movie could have benefited a lot from a cutting back and forth, right? Instead of, basically what we get in Black Widow is we get, like, a really great, admittedly, probably one of the better parts of the movie, a really great flashback to, like, her very origin, like, in terms of in America. Mm-hmm. And then we flash forward to in between Avengers movies.
Yeah.
And the whole movie takes place there. I think it would have benefited a lot from cutting back and forth between Budapest when she defected and modern day when she's dealing with the resurgence of the Red Room and the plot of the movie. I really kind of felt slighted because this whole time they're like, we've been teased ever since the first Avengers, like, you and I remember Budapest quite differently. And we're like, we're finally going to get to see, like, what happens. And it's kind of just like a throwaway line in the movie. They're just like, like, Clint and I, we hid in a vent shaft for, like, a week.
Yeah, it's like, look, arrow damage.
So, like, it kind of felt like, that seems like the more interesting story of, like, Hawkeye was sent to kill her, but instead, like, recruited her. Mm-hmm. That seems like a more interesting story than the story that we got.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like it. I liked it, I think I liked it more than you did. But, I mean, I also didn't, like, it didn't blow my socks off. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. But I didn't think it, and we'll talk about this when we get to Shang-Chi, but I mean, compared to the average Marvel movie, I'm not dying to rewatch this one.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the movie by any means. I was, I was entertained. I enjoyed watching it. It was just, not what it could have been. Like, and here's another thing. Like, I felt they failed twice with Taskmaster in the one film. Like, because first of all, Taskmaster, Barry has a strong personality in comics, like, and then, so you stripped him of all of his personality. I'm not the first person to say this, but everybody, they're right to say it. It's like the X-Men Origins Deadpool. That's what they did to Taskmaster. And so, see, that was one way they did it wrong, the character wrong. But then they did all of that so that it could be Dreykov's daughter, and that could have paid off so much better than it did in the movie. The way it played off, like I would have forgiven them for totally changing Taskmaster if they really made it being Dreykov's daughter thing to pay off, but it didn't. Like, it's like she just smashed the chemicals. I'm not gonna kill you now. That's not what it should have been. Like, now, in my opinion, there's two good ways they could have really done it. one is a bit more dark. I can see why they wouldn't want to do it, but for her to not be mind controlled, her just hating Natasha for good reason, and Natasha realizing that she can't undo what she did, and she has to kill. Now I admit that's a bit dark. I can see why Disney wouldn't want to go that way, but they could have also done a happier ending where Natasha doesn't kill her, but admits to what she did. Has admit that how wrong she was, to try to kill her, and apologize to her. They could have had this huge moment there, but they didn't. Wasted opportunity.
See, yeah, I mean, the to your first point, I pretty much agree with you. I didn't really mind, as someone who, I really loved Taskmaster in the Spider-Man PS4 game, but I don't really have too much background on Taskmaster other than that. I thought the portrayal of Taskmaster during the fight scenes was really cool, and I actually kind of dug the silent, menacing part, so I didn't mind the lack of the strong personality. But like you said, I thought the worst part of the movie was that I felt like the whole time they were like, ooh, it's a mystery, who could this mysterious Taskmaster possibly be?
Who everybody figured out.
And you knew immediately, you see one trailer, or even just the beginning of the movie, and it can kind of only be two people, and quickly you realize, the second Taskmaster was shown on screen, I'm like, alright, it's either the mother or it's Dreykov's daughter. And the second we see the mother, I'm like, okay, it's Dreykov's daughter. So I really wish they would have, you can do the mystery, but I wish they wouldn't have held on to that for the end, for the big reveal. And like you said, I thought she got off a little bit too easy. She basically assassinated this girl as collateral damage.
Intentional collateral damage. She even says that.
Yeah, intentional collateral damage. And so I'm like, no, she should hate Natasha. And the fact that she's kind of, I did like their bonding moment when Dreykov is finally eventually killed, and she's like, is he gone? And that whole catharsis. So I like that, but I thought you could have done something really cool in terms of they come to an understanding of each other. Hey, I don't hate you anymore, but I'm still angry, and kept her as a villain. Instead of having her be mind controlled and then immediately is a good person.
Yeah.
I thought they could have kept her. She could have even developed into the Taskmaster personality of the comics, because I don't care at all about the gender swap.
Oh, the gender swap did not bother me one bit. Let me make that clear. I don't care that they made it female. I just that is not a problem, Mike, at all. It was the lack of personality though, and the no payoff from it.
Yeah. I think Marvel does a good job at starting from something, with Scarlet Witch is a great example. It's starting pretty much nothing at all similar to the comic book version, and then they slowly change her into almost an identical version from the comics. So I was fine with that, but I'm they should have kept her evil, and then she could kind of slowly, now, maybe she's mind controlled in this movie, but maybe she comes back in another movie, and now she's free of the mind control, but she's still evil, and she kind of gradually becomes more snarky, or more into the whole mimicking other Avengers, and then maybe, she eventually gets redeemed, or eventually her and the, it's kind of hard. Again, I don't envy the fact that they sort of wrote this movie into a corner of they can't have her and Natasha interact another time, because Natasha can't be around post
exactly.
Endgame. But yeah, for what it was, I like Taskmaster as a choice for the villain in this movie. So it didn't take away from it for me. It just kind of felt, I don't know. It just kind of felt very middle of the road, especially when the real villain, Dreykov, like, I don't know. I mean, I liked... he sufficiently was evil and slimy with, like, his whole misogyny, and that was cool, but, like, I didn't really find him menacing, and I didn't really understand what his deal was. Like, he was kind of part of the Soviet Union, I guess, but then he wasn't, and then I guess he went off on his own.
Yeah. He didn't...
And, like,
he had no clear motives, really.
He was just like, okay, I want power, which is fine. I guess every villain wants power, but there was just no humanity to him. Like, he didn't care about anything other than just power generically. And he's like, oh, I've started wars and ended wars and whatever. And I'm just like, okay, but, like, no one's ever heard of you. So, like, I don't know. Which I guess he's, like, manipulating everything from the shadows, but... I don't know, I wanted to hate him more. I wanted him to be, like, feel like a final boss, which is a common critique of Marvel. And again, I'm trying not to compare this movie to Shang-Chi, because that's another week. But I just, like, Marvel's villains are always just such a weak link that I'm just like, I wanted more from him to be, like, especially after Thanos, I was like, okay, we're back to the villain of the week.
Which is why, if they... focus more on Taskmaster and, like I said, gotten that payoff, like, Taskmaster could have been, like, the true villain, like, you know, like, the strong villain of it. Like, that's part of the reason why the Taskmaster being so weak was also disappointing.
You know what I really wanted to happen was I really wanted Taskmaster to get free of the mind control, and then... Natasha's like, oh, good, you're free. Like, we could be friends now. And then Taskmaster killed Dreykov, and then Taskmaster fought Natasha.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what I wanted to see. Because, I wanted Taskmaster to be the final boss, not Dreykov. Because, I mean, Dreykov... I know, he's just a guy.
And like, here's a because I'm like, I mean, yes, there's a suspension of disbelief with any action movie, but they really took it way too far with how many times Natasha should have died in this movie. Like...
Okay, I did not notice it at all during the movie, so it didn't take me out of the movie. But upon rewatching it, when she falls off, like, the 3-story building and, like, smashes, like, headfirst into the dumpster, I'm like, okay, she's definitely dead.
No, it definitely took me out of the movie. I'm like, and there was multiple times when it's like, you're a human. You should be dead. It's like, you know, like, it's like, you get one of those things. You don't get, they did like 10 of the, like, there was like 10 times when it's like, you're dead. Like, how are you still alive?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, there's all this exploding building, but none of it hit, this helicarrier blew up. But don't worry, none of it hit me. Like, I'm just free falling here. Like, come on.
For 10 minutes, yeah.
Like, come on. She has those superpowers. Like you just took it a bit too far with how much she managed to survive.
Yeah, I guess, like, I was surprised because when I pictured a Black Widow movie, I pictured more like Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. I pictured more of like a low to the ground, gritty espionage movie.
Yeah,
with,
like a thriller.
Double crosses and like a thriller movie. This was definitely more an action movie, which was fine. Like I said, I liked the movie. I just was an odd choice.
Yeah,
for a character that doesn't have powers.
Yeah, it felt more like it felt like a bit like a Fast and Furious movie, which I don't mind the Fast and Furious movies, but it felt more like that in a Marvel movie at times. Mm-hmm. Like, with just, like, the impossible feats and stuff. It's like, okay, you're doing Fast and Furious stuff. Like, Marvel, I mean, they use pseudo, comic book signs, but there's always some sign, like, there's always comic book signs behind what they're doing, usually. Like, oh, well, it's vibranium, Oh, he has super strength. Mm-hmm. But this one, they're just like, nope, yeah, she could survive things that would kill her multiple times because she's the main character and you already know how she dies. But yeah, it definitely should have been a much more grounded movie. Like, Like, Winter Soldier is, I mean, it's not, like, it's funny calling it a grounded movie because it's not in some regards, but like for a Marvel movie, Winter Soldier is very grounded compared to most Marvel movies. And yeah, Black Widow should have stuck to that kind of level, like, but I thought they want, they want too sci-fi, like, which is like, yeah, but this is not what you should have done with this character.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. I always find it weird. I'm like, Black Widow's supposed to be this, like, super spy, but she doesn't really do much spying. Other than the only time that she really used her, like, espionage was, like, with the disguise, when she disguised herself. Yeah. But I'm like...
Which he saw through in, like, 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like... I don't know, I wanted more spying from the spy movie. And I wanted more Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, I mean, that like, him not being in this movie made no sense. It was probably, just a scheduling issue, but yeah, his character, like, it made no sense for Hawkeye not to be in here at all.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, I haven't talked yet about my favorite part of the movie, which was Red Guardian.
You know what, I was honestly thinking the same exact thing. David Harbour as Red Guardian, amazing.
Perfect casting, great character. I laughed at like 90%. Not every joke landed, but almost all of his jokes landed. So he really brought up the pace of this movie. Like, I was like, okay. Every time he was on screen, I was on board with this movie. I loved his whole dynamic, and I thought he looked great. I really want to see this character again. I want to see the full whatever Soviet Avengers with like Crimson Dynamo and him. I want to see it. The Winter Guard.
It's funny because, like, character-wise, he's kind of useless in the movie. Like, plot-wise, you could really cut him out without too much issue. Like, plot speaking, but he was like his presence was definitely the highlight. Like that, like,
yeah.
Like, you didn't need him for plot, but you needed him to elevate the quality of the movie. Like,
exactly. No, I thought he immensely brought up the quality of the movie. The only thing that I guess this is a credit to just like his acting, but like I was just like I was surprised how he went from just like the best father in the world to like just not caring at all. Yeah. But I also thought that he was just pretending before, so it makes sense. And plus, he was in Soviet gulag for however many years. So, I definitely.
I want to know who he fought. My money is on...
on
what's his name? Is it Eli or... No, Isaiah. Eli's the grandson. Isaiah... what's his last name?
Oh, yeah. Isaiah Bradley?
Yeah. Isaiah Bradley. That's who I'm saying he fought. Because he would... It seemed like it would have been about the same time period, and... I mean, Isaiah Bradley is a super soldier.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably never going to reveal that either, but that is my theory, is who he fought that he thought was Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they'll, like, say, like, someone will ask the director in, like, an interview, and they'll, like, say it in, like, 10 years from now.
Well, but I don't think 10 years from now, they're going to pick their favorite fan theory and say that's what they intended the whole time.
Exactly. It's like, Peter Parker was an Iron Man too. They're just gonna like
that one. I hate that one. It was so unnecessary.
Whatever the best fan theory is, they're just gonna retcon it.
Yeah, but I hate the Peter Parker Iron Man 2 theory. It's just so unnecessary. But that's totally off topic. Title drop. but yeah, I dig on the movie. But I did enjoy seeing it. Like, I'm happy we finally got a Black Widow movie. Even if it wasn't the best Black Widow movie we could get, it's still better than nothing.
Yeah. Right, I was going to say, to that point, I 100% agree that, if you were going to say, hey, yes, it's a bit late and the character is already dead in canon, so do you still want a Black Widow movie? I would still say yes. She deserved a movie. She was an original Avenger. And, I mean, honestly, I probably would have preferred it as a TV series similar to what they're doing as Hawkeye, but, I mean, I wanted something, either a movie or a TV series for this character, and we finally got it. So, even though, like, I would put it, you know, with the middle tier Marvel movies. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't like a Thor: The Dark World, which I also didn't hate, but, I mean,
I never hated an MCU movie. Never hated an MCU movie.
Yeah,
never walked out of the theater and was like, oh, that was a waste of time. That never happened with MCU.
Exactly, no. I would take a mediocre Marvel movie over almost any other generic movie. So I mean, I think I gave this movie a B or a B plus coming out of the theater. You know,
I'm a bit harsh. I would give it like a C.
Yeah. So going forward, I mean, let's talk a little bit about what this movie does set up, which is Yelena as, like...
Which we haven't actually talked about at all yet.
Maybe new Black Widow, maybe
Definitely.
evil Black Widow, question mark?
I think... Well, see, it's interesting. I'm curious, because we know she's going to be on Hawkeye. Is she just going to be like, I want to kill you? Hawkeye could be like, oh, here's what really happened. Oh, okay, now we're friends. But it could also be people think Julie Louis-Dreyfus' character set up like the Dark Avengers. She already has U.S. Agent. She might add Yelena now seems to be her next one. So, you know, the Dark Avengers, what people theorize they're going to do with the Dark Avengers, they're going to be somewhat anti-heroes. You know, like do, you know, more gray area stuff. And
yeah, I think she will be on the Dark Avengers, but like you said, I don't think they're really going to be the Dark Avengers so much as the morally ambiguous Avengers, because especially the way they kind of redeemed U.S. Agent, I think they're making it clear, like, none of these people are, like, bad guys. Like, you know, I think they're going to have a separate, like, if they want, like, the evil Avengers, I think they'll go with, like, a Norman Osborn or, like, characters like that who are, like, strictly evil.
These are clearly not like, strictly evil characters.
So she probably is on this team because, you know, we see her with Louis Marie Dreyfus' character, and Madame Hydra or Valentina.
It's funny though how you bring up U.S. Agent and kind of redeemed him. Like he was a character like you really did not know how to feel. I know this is completely off topic, but that's not the name of our podcast. He was a character that throughout Falcon Winter Soldier, it's like, you do not know. Like, do I hate this guy or not? Like, I kept going back and forth. I'm like, I hate him. No, maybe, like, I could not determine what I felt about him.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, I felt like I liked him, and then I was, like, mad on him, and then I hated him, and then I was like, okay, he's kind of okay.
I mean, though, he was definitely the wrong guy to take the superhero serum, though, because how the guy who created said, a weak man knows the value of strength. He was really strong. He did not know the value of strength, getting it.
Right, he was the, you know, they were like, oh, we don't need a perfect soldier, we need a good man. And he was, like, the perfect soldier.
But anyway, let's get back to Black Widow. Let's get back on topic.
So, anyway. So, Yelena, did you like her character? Are you interested in seeing her? Do you want her to be a regular Avenger, or is she just, like, a side character who will kind of pop up every now and again?
I liked her. She had some of the funnier moments. Like, I mean, the whole payoff about her giving the vest was stupid, but her talking about the vest was funny. I did love her talking about it.
Yeah, when she was talking about all the pockets.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she was a fun character.
I liked her character. I don't know how I would feel about her, like, meshing with the... Because I felt like Natasha brought something very specific to the Avengers dynamic. But, on the other hand, the Avengers are all pretty much gone. So, maybe with this new young Avengers kind of dynamic...
Well, not the young Avengers, so that's a different thing.
Well, I think that's where they're going, between Kamala Khan and, rumors of Ironheart and...
No, Ironheart is confirmed.
That's where we're headed.
But the Young Avengers is a completely different team
I meant Ironheart appearing in Black Widow 2.
Anyway, but no, Young Avengers is a completely different team that I'm 100% positive they're secretly working on because they've introduced so many of those characters, like Wanda's kids, Eli what's his last name? Bradshaw? Whatever. Isaiah's grandson. Like they Kate Bishop. Like it's a completely separate team from the main Avengers. They're definitely doing that. You can't convince me otherwise because, like I said, they're introducing all the characters.
I don't even think it's really that much of a secret. I mean, they obviously don't have a confirmed movie, but I think that's definitely what they're doing. But unlike you, while in the comics they are a completely separate team from the mainline Avengers, I think in the MCU they're just gonna be the new Young Avengers. I don't think there's gonna be like, oh, here's the Avengers and here's this other team. I think they're going to. I mean, they're going to have their own movie, but I think it's just going to be like Avengers 6.
I don't think so because they still have plenty of Avengers like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Wanda. They still have plenty of Avengers who still.
But like Wanda's like tripping on evil, and
I don't think she's going to be as evil as everybody says she's going to be.
I don't know. I think. Maybe we will still have, like, a few key Avengers. But I think that they're going to stay dispersed. I don't think the Avengers will assemble as a team.
Well, they're going to fight King. The King is clearly the next big bad that they're going to assemble to fight.
Right, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, like, the Young Avengers get a movie that's all about them.
Well, I mean...
And then...
Have you read any of the Young Avengers comics?
No.
Because their origins are actually completely linked to King. So, like, the person who found them was actually a variant of King. So, it's possible.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. So, well, then we'll definitely get more on that, probably in, like, Ant-Man 3.
Yeah, because King has been confirmed for that. That's how everybody knew, oh, that's King. Even though he was He Who Remains, but it's like, no, you cast that guy as King, so clearly that's King at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, I'm running out of time on my camera, so I think that's a good sign that we probably should wrap this up. We stayed mostly on topic, but definitely got off a bit, but season 2, baby.
Alright, so I think that does it.
Alright, I'm still JD.
And I'm still Mike.
Adios. That's Spanish for bye.
Peace.